Welcome back, everybody. Game number 2 is about to begin. Outsiders versus Wolves. A lot to unpack for this game before we enter into the server. I'm so glad that you guys are joining us here once again on the Analyst Desk. I'm Mr. Medic, your host. With me are Fresh and Demo, our guest here in EUL. Friends, I know there's a lot to mention for Outsiders, changes, all that. So let's get Wolves out of the way. Jack, what are your thoughts on them? We saw them in Berlin overall.
I think overall this roster is one of the best rosters in EUL. I think genuinely they finished first last stage. They're a very good roster at playing team play. They play very fluid, they play together. And the one thing that I love about this roster genuinely is that they turn disadvantageous situations, a 1v2 situation, into a 3v2 in their favor to get the refrags, to keep the ground or to get the ground or whatever they're trying to do. They do it together. We see multiple times teams where they just go one by one and they're trying to make a play solo. That doesn't happen with Wolves, and that's what makes them one of the best rosters domestically. Of course, there's concerns definitely internationally, right? That's where when they come up against teams from other regions, they do struggle. But in terms of when they come up against teams from EU, they do well on it.
Yeah, I look at Wolves and I think, yeah, they've done really well the past 2 splits to get themselves back into the mix, you know, being actually considered a contender. You know, this side coming in, Mowgli, we thought was an excellent pickup at the time for them. But the international success for me is always going to be that ever-looming threat for this side. I have no doubt that they can come in and win against these EU sides, but for me, I just think that has the team hit its limits? Is that all this team's going to be is just they're there at the majors? That's it. They're just there. They're never going to be competing because that's not what you want. You want to be trying to challenge for these championships. At the end of the day, they are the #1 EU side technically coming out of the region before Rogue won it, and they finished 8th. I think G2 were better than them at the major, and I also, of course, Rogue were better than them.
I promise you, they want to compete at the major. They want to compete and go further. They just need to find
that about BDS.
They just need to find a way to get through that ceiling.
Again, people said that about BDS, yet here we are.
True.
Moment to reset, but then again, the past 2 years for Wolves have been a reset moment, and they've gone beyond what they've done ever since, Paris 2018, if you're really taking it to Bibu all the way in those days. And even if you count, I guess, their game against EG, DreamHack Austin,
you're looking at Millennium then, aren't you? Yeah.
Exactly. So this is how far we're going, kind of mixes between the teams.
What?
Was Liven on that roster?
No, that's what Renchi used to be on before he moved over as well.
History.
Yeah, it was Liven as well.
I've now got 2 historians.
Siege history.
I've now got 2 historians.
Yeah, nobody remembers any of it because actually most of the people... How many people used to watch Siege in 2018 that are still watching right now? Type 1 in chat. Well, obviously you didn't because you don't remember any of it. Outsiders. Let's talk about them and their changes because they are significant.
Yes.
And they do encompass players that were competing way back in those days.
And again, they've taken... You know, we've talked about teams and how the general UL approach for roster changes this stage has been to look into tier 3. Go into tier 3, find these unproven, quite young, at times 18, 19, 20-year-olds that are hungry to be in at the top. Not outsiders. They've picked up 3 guys, 2 players and a coach who have played in 2 6 invitational finals, who have got all that experience, who have won majors.
Pro League champion, major
They've
champion.
gone down the experienced route. And the big question mark about man still is whether this is outsiders plus 2 in terms of the team, or whether this is the E+4 plus the 3 outsiders players into it. How that integration is going to work. And, you know, back in the day, these were the 2 big Russian teams going head-to-head, and they've basically merged into one.
Yeah, I personally think that it's going to be a new team. I think that it's not going to be the same outsiders that we've seen in the last 2 splits. I think it's going to be Joystick's going to come in, Always is going to come in, Dan's come in and say, right, yous have not been playing the good Siege. We need to get you into the good Siege. And that's what I think they're going to do. They're going to completely develop them and reshape the players that are already existing on that roster.
Well, we're going to have to see if they're going to change any sort of strategy on today's map for this series. 9-map pool, 8 are out, 1 is left, and it will be Bank for this one. Close to getting the clubhouse, which personally I would have loved to see in this case, but outsiders are picking Bank. They start off on the defensive side. Jackers, help me out.
So Wolves are still banning the same. Wolves have had quite a small map pool. They've been playing with a 5 map pool through stage 2. They still banned 3 of those same maps, Border, Skyscraper, and Cafe. The only map that they left, I guess, didn't ban was Theme Park. They probably would have banned Theme Park if outsiders didn't get there first. So I think it's a map that Wolves are always going to leave open in the best of 1. And for outsiders, Bank has always been quite a traditional traditionally quite a strong map.
Yeah, and I think even if you date back to these ex-players that were mentioned in 2019, you think I always think, Bank, whenever they were up against Team Secret, and then they kind of had that defuse for the wall. Remember that game at Rally? So it is quite a historical map just for some of these players on its own. So
they played it in an SI final.
I think it's a good way to get them back in.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. So how do you see this going? Very quickly, are lobbies ready?
I genuinely think Wolves are one of the best bank teams in the world. That's why they always leave it open.
We're dealing with domestic success, so it has to be Wolves.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. Let's then toss it to our casters. Des and Tim, Ace, that is, return to the cast. One here and one at home. So, hey, they're going to bring it as always. Enjoy.
I wish I knew who this Tim guy was. I only know Big Tim. And Big Tim is joining us from home. Hey, how you doing, Tim?
Big Tim, Big Tim, Big Tim.
You've got the God voice, mate. Use it well.
It always gets left on.
Go on, give us something.
I don't. You've caught me on the spot now. What was it? I mean, all I was going to do was point out how well Fresh's pink hair blended in with the Outsiders logo. I nearly lost him as it was crossing.
It actually is a very good point. I compared him to something else,
Very
and it
good
wasn't
match,
the
isn't it?
Outsiders logo earlier, but he's doing it now. Production, can we cut to that camera? Can we? Look at it. It's incredible.
It's perfect.
I feel like I'm talking you into some hallowed hall somewhere, Tim.
No, I'm just at home in a bedroom, spare bedroom.
You could be in a church or an abbey for all I know with how echoey it is. It's amazing. But our first game is ready, Tim. Oh, it's good to be back. I wish you were here, buddy, but I'm sure you will. But one thing I think worth touching on before we get into this game fully is for Outsiders, they've had those two big roster changes. For Wolves, they're coming back in after falling short at yet another major. They've got a point to prove. Outsiders have got a way to try and bounce their way back into things here. This could be far more explosive than maybe it first looked on paper.
I really think it could be. Normally we look at teams that have come together like Outsiders, they've had a good few changes, and you start saying, oh, they've got to settle down, they've got to, get everything in place. I don't think that's going to be the case for this Outsiders team. These are all guys that know each other well. They've played around the same scene for a long time. Fresh commented on how much experience there is there. I can't see it taking them too long to get running. Granted, they are coming in this with what is going to be one of the strongest tests they will face in this stage against Wolves, who are going to be fighting for the top two again, but still, there's a real opportunity for them to come out of the gate strong.
Now, you're talking about tests, Tim, and I need to ask you something here that requires a little bit of context setting. So for those who haven't seen Reddit, haven't seen Twitter, the reason why Tim is not here is, very unfortunately, a few weeks ago he had a stroke, unbeknownst to him at the time, and currently about 20% of your vision on your left side is missing, if I understand. Please tell me, how are you getting around this with casting? Because I've been dead curious to ask you, but thought I'd save it for air. So what are you doing? Because I keep on seeing you on the camera behind me looking to your left quite a lot.
Well, it's probably about 30% of my vision overall that's missing from the blind spot. I've got it. So anybody who doesn't know, I've got a big blind spot on my left-hand side. If you imagine a clock, if I'm looking straight at 12, from about 11 o'clock to about 9:30 o'clock, in the top half of my vision, so sort of like the top quarter, I can't see anything. It's a blind spot.
Oh, so you can still see lower left, right?
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
it's a real shame then that you're so short. Otherwise, maybe that'll be all right.
It's not much use. It's not much use. It does stop me bumping into things, but other than that, it's not much use. But yeah, in terms of casting, so what I've done at the minute, it's a little bit more difficult for playing. I've been putting a few clips up on Twitter, and I've got my little outline on there that shows people. So it impacts about 20% of the monitor, the top left corner. But what I'm able to do when I'm casting is I can just reduce the game window down a little bit. So my game window is currently about 75% set towards my top right corner. So none of the game window actually sits in that blind spot, so long as I focus on the right foot.
Improvise, adapt, overcome. That's our Tim, and that's what we know he can be like as well. But Tim, I hope you have him back out here with us very, very soon, buddy, because we always know it's a riot in studio together. For now, you can sit in the darkness and keep seeing you turn your lights off so you completely disappear behind me. It's wonderful. But let's have a focus on this round and see how things are going to shape up. In case you're just joining us, welcome. Bans have gone through nice and quick. Wolves are on the attacking side to start. And if we know anything about Wolves, they are terrifying with their drone play. You'll have a drone or two in front of these entries looking towards players like Mowgli, like Rise, potentially even P4, bringing along the Zofia. Now they've had those recent recall changes coming in. Her MS-762 is generally considered pretty damn good. But here we go, another gun that's not too bad. It's also of the carbine coming out for the Jaeger. May well see a pick rate increase for him, given how that gun currently fares, but a lot of pressure coming in as well from Square side against Milan.
Just picking up on those bans very quickly, pretty much expected for most of them. Kaid, Valkyrie, Knock, not too many surprises. The Orsa, not one that we see every time, but no surprise on Bank. Nice opener for Milan there as he gets P4. Wheels around and manages to find a pistol onto Mowgli as well. Milan absolutely flying right from the off, and he is a player that we know has got that and stacks more in the locker.
Really interestingly, they're seeing them with Ras bringing along the Echo here as well. Taking a few leaves out of the book of Rogue, specifically Deepek, Big ET, better known in some circles. Using it more to provide assistance to the team there. A couple of pings coming in on where the attackers were pushing in from. Shinka finally gets that shutdown onto Milan, but the damage has been done, Tim. He's burnt through 90 seconds. He's brought down 2 of the entries on the side of Wolves. Fantastic, Rome.
It's worked perfectly. You know, he will happily trade his life, especially on the Jaeger. The ADSs are down, the barbed wire is down. His only job is to go and find kills, and he's done exactly that, really catapulting his team into the round. But Wolves have got an opportunity now. We heard Fresh speak earlier about how they're fantastic at turning a disadvantageous situation, such as a 3v4, to their advantage. They will work as a team to start picking up on people, to try and dissect this outsider's defense. They'll look for the 3v1, for the 3v2. They'll try and get those advantages and bring the numbers back to their side. They've got 45 seconds, plenty of time, hatch control. This is definitely doable for Wolves, but outsiders right now looking pretty.
They know that one's around Vault here, but aware that for the most part, I was going to say at least around elevators, things were clear, but that has now changed. Pasha dancing very dangerously near the doors where Shinka was holding on towards the side angle. It's very passive from outsiders, but in comes the drop. Bibu's in, blasted out by the Yokai, but does the swing respond? Rise finds one onto Always, make it a second as well. 2 massive kills, make it a third, and like that, Rise has cleaned up house downstairs, and even though they were in a 3 versus 4, Wolves find the round win.
I'm very glad that I brought Fresh's point back to the fore then, because it was perfectly timed. In they go, pick up those defenders in just difficult situations for them. Rise going in, making those challenges, nobody in a position to trade those deaths, nobody in a position to impact onto Rise as his march continued. 3 out of the 4 kills go his way, absolutely locks down the round for Wolves, and that is message sent to outsiders there about the size of the task, and it's a little bit unfortunate for them, because as I said, coming in, outsiders not looking terrible. Milan gets a couple of kills, they burn 2 minutes 15 of the round, you're not doing everything right, and against another team, against a G2 even, against a BDS right now, I think maybe they pick up the round there, but they're coming up against one of the top dogs, and Wolves able to just find not only their bark, but also their bite, and shut the round out 1-0.
Well, let's not talk about G2 and BDS too soon, so they're still going to play with their newly revised 5th members. Of course, we have Liquefac, and we also have Blur coming in as well. So there are a couple of changes for those 2 teams to explore a little later on, but your point does stand. What was impressive to me as well is it wasn't players like Mowgli, P4, the 2 big entries that we always talk about on this team. No, it was Bibu, it was Rise, it was Shinka pulling that one off, and they only lost 1 of their 3 players in that execute. So for outsiders, they probably felt they'd done the right thing. They'd got the 5 versus, or even in this case, they got the 2 kills on side, a 5 versus 3 down to a 4v3, and thought, great, let's sit on site, we can win from here. But I think in the current meta, even having a 1-man advantage might not be enough. You've still got to be in a spot where you're able to challenge even when they're getting set up, if not immediately as soon as they drop. And that was what bit them in the backside, even with the Yokai spotting out exactly where that drop came from. Here we go, though, into round 2, and it already looks like there's a bit of a war going on around ATMs. Rask on this castle, being a little rascal, holding inside of elevators, and P4 knows that his man's around there. Has got a little bit of information in front of him with that drone sat just inside of the hallway to ensure that Rask isn't pressing too aggressively, and has now managed to get P4 straight up these stairs, ignoring what's going on in elevators and sweeping his way across that top floor.
Definitely not a heavy presence on the top floor. There's maybe 1 from outsiders. I've picked up 4 of them, 3 inside and Rask in elevators. I'm not sure where the last man is at the minute, but Wolves, they are starting with the top floor clearance. Pashery was downstairs, so I think all 5 have given up top floor. So Wolves, if they recognise that and move quickly enough, could start applying some vertical pressure very, very quickly here. And as you can see, Mowgli, he's managed to sweep his way all the way across the square. He's going in for a challenge into Archives here. He's not going to peek far enough quite round to see his man inside through the small office inside his sight there. But Pasha, Milon, always, they are dug in deep, and there is a lot of time to hold on here. If Mowgli holds this angle, he's almost certainly going to pick somebody up inside his sight.
This is such a Mowgli player. I remember him doing it last stage on Clubhouse, playing Habana, for example, where he'd just walk his way into sight and kill 2 or 3 people unexpectedly. With that first shot coming in, though, he has given himself away. The Magnets doing their job here and catching out a couple of these. The second one being redeployed. Milon playing well in what has been called Kansan spot by a number of teams after Kansan's incredible 4K clutch from that exact position. But with them holding down here towards this admin office, it does mean this north side is a bit difficult for Wolves to come pushing in. I'm slightly concerned that we've only got 40 seconds left on the clock, and still there's a couple of C4s to play through. There's impacts, for example. Outsiders have got themselves set up pretty well, so Wolves are going to have to get creative, and this could be it. There we go.
It's going to be a beautiful nade by Bibu, just using the hatch there, and that is an absolute killer vertical nade. Bibu taken down. They're unaware that Rask is down there, but just to put some context on that, there is so little of that floor that is destructible. There are very few chances to actually do that, so Bibu finding it is brilliant. P4 with a huge 3K this time instead of Rask. Shinka, he's putting the diffuser down. It's 4v1. It's Rise with the final kill, and that's going to be Wolves closing out round 2. And once again, despite what looked like a slow start, it just shows that all they are doing is digging foundations. They're putting building blocks ready to fire into that last final 30 seconds. Brilliant from Wolves.
I feel up until the last 45 seconds or so, outsiders in both rounds have probably been in the stronger position on paper. I commended how well they were sat. They still had two C4s in back pocket. They didn't get sideswiped by Mowgli coming in, for example. They dealt with all the, air quotes, surprises. But when Wolves pull the trigger, and this is something they are very, very good at, I've always described them as a volatile rogue. They play a lot for this all kind of team-encompassing aggression on the attacking side. But they make it work in what feel like even more chaotic situations than Rogue can. 2 rounds now where I would wager with 45 seconds left, outsiders should have won, but they've had 2 big multi-kills coming out of 2 separate players that have kept themselves going. Rise with the 3K in the first round, P4 with the 3K in that round just then too. This is what makes magical teams, though, I think, Tim, is even when things look bad, when it looks like you might be losing, they engage what we call Fergie time from Man United in the Premier League back in the old day. When you just manage to nick that 1 goal in the dying minutes there to make sure you get the win. Rise. Wolves have now done that 2 rounds in a row. Outsiders have really got to sharpen up some ideas here or win those more critical gunfights.
Mowgli already looking to gun towards open area inside of round 3. Nearly caught his man inside of there, but for the time being, Milon was able to just dash himself to safety. He's going to be playing in that same position that we saw back in round 1. It's the same site, but the danger for Milon now is he picked up a 2K from there last time. Wolves already blasting that window open with Mowgli. They know that Milon is going to be in that position, so it's going to need to be something special if he wants to have the same sort of outcome this time around. For the time being, Wolves are just firing the drones all over the map at the minute. Mowgli up into the top floor. They're not taking any risks here, clearing out the entire map, and the next step is going to be engaging Milon.
What I really respect, by the way, from Bibu there, it sounds like such a small point, but he must have droned through ATMs. God, how many times do you reckon? At least 1,000 or maybe even 2, potentially even more. It's been a lot throughout his career, but it doesn't stop him cutting corners. He checks every single corner of ATMs. He's not getting a player backstabbed as a result of that coming through, and Mowgli capitalizes off the back of more information being fed through. Down goes Milon, but again, for Bibu, I just want to really commend the drone play. It's that kind of discipline that can really make teams special.
As expected, Milon dealt with summarily there. They knew that he was going to be in that position. Pasha, he's going to be pushed away by that nade. Playing on the Warden, so can withstand any other thrown utility, such as the smoke canisters, such as any flashbangs that might come in. He'll be able to use those glasses, his special gadget, to be able to see through them. But those glasses are not going to do a thing against nades coming in, so he has to dip himself back into garage. Mowgli holds the stairs for the time being, just to make sure that the flank doesn't come through, which it doesn't for the time being, and that's going to allow now Wolves to start building the attack through servers.
You can very clearly see, I think it's almost been orchestrated to a T what the focus is going to be from the Wolves lineup here, with 4 players all gathering around servers and site hatch itself. Outsiders have a pretty good read on this, but already finding themselves down a man and able to get one of those early kills that we keep on speaking about being so impactful to defenders. This could prove to be a real sticking point for them. They've got a C4 left in back pocket with Dan. They've gone through one of their Goyo canisters. They've still got 3 smoke canisters to play. So Wolves finally might get punished here by the clock, but We've already seen how Wolves can pull these rounds out of the bag.
Dan's just going to sit and hold his position in red corridor for the time being. He's got one more Goyo canister, and he's just waiting for it. Pasha, I'm not sure he's aware of the man in elevators here, and he could just be sticking out a little bit too far. The thrown drone from Mowgli gives his position away, though, and Pasha is able to turn around and maybe hold him at bay. This is going to be absolute last ditch for Wolves. 12 seconds left to go. They're thinking about getting inside. Here goes Mowgli. 3v4, though, as Dan finds P4. The diffuser's going down. 3v3 as bodies start to drop left, right, centre. The diffuser stops. The plant is over, and somehow, though, Wolves still manage to stick the final kills, Des. They've got 3 to find in 3 seconds, and they still do it.
It's again just one of those where at the 45-second mark, I know this time round they have the numbers advantage, but you look, and by the way, big shout out to Medics on the Observing there for giving us all that top-down action. We saw everything that happened. See, as he says down my ears. Thank you very much, Medics. Just one of those again where at 45 seconds, you feel like Outsiders might be able to hold on. But even as we enter those last 10 seconds, you've got to be asking Pasha, like, buddy, you know what's coming, right? You lot have got the site covered down. You've got Goyo canisters over there. You've got smoke canisters coming out. You've got a C4. Why isn't your attention on the man that's just droned you? I don't know if he didn't realise the drone had been thrown from elevator side, but that removes all the backline threat. And then before you know it, Outsiders have got to deal with a player coming from the left, 3 coming in from the right, someone dropping down through hatch. So even though it was in the final 10 seconds, there was just 3 things for the defenders to worry about there. Wolves, again, with another wonderful execution.
Just making life a misery at the minute for Outsiders here. Yeah. They're getting absolutely nothing on the board. Like you say, they're in situations where 10, 15 seconds left, you think, yeah, they've probably got this one. And then Wolves, they just have other ideas. Now, interestingly, Dan just leaving that drone on top of there. And that's a fascinating one. I'm not really sure of the thinking behind that, unless he's just trying to bait them into stock, maybe. But like you say, much more likely, I would suggest that one's just been missed. It's easy done. I imagine it'll probably be gone by now. We're going to have the man up on the rappel. This is going to be another staff and open area attack, and as you can see, Outsiders already being forced back. That was one of the problems last time on this defense, was they were just all inside in the basement far too quickly, and they gave Wolves an absolute age to build that top floor pressure. And once again, Wolves are going to be in the same situation here. They're going to walk in and start taking ground any second.
Well, it's again the one thing that's really scary about Wolves is the drone play that comes at the feet of the entries. The pressure they put on from a couple of directions at the same time. It's not like one player's kind of thinking, maybe I try and go for a fight on this guy inside a Logi. I'm not sure, maybe. No, they commit hard to it. They make the game plan and they go. And I think some teams kind of could learn a lesson from that in terms of being incredibly decisive, because you can see how often it is netting them kills early in the rounds. C4's come through, but not finding anyone. It's P4, who, like I said, has made a call, has marched into Archives. Just like Mowgli did before, but this time round it's P4 finding the opener.
Wolves now have got about 90% map control, so you better believe this is going to be a tough round for Outsiders. Rask, however, makes it a little bit easier, getting himself another kill. Last time it was Bibu down in the basement. This time it's Mowgli. They know that he's going to be playing there, and that's why Mowgli was positioned on those stairs to prevent him coming up, but Rask having absolutely none of it. P4, he's going to be on the chase next. He's going to be looking to find his man. Castle is down to low health inside of the basement, but right now he's happy to just waste time. He's going to sit down there. P4 may well choose to just hold the flank and prevent Rask being able to move forward. If he continues stepping up to this door, he's likely to lose his life. P4, he knows. He hears him, Des. He knows that he's going to be peeking around this any moment. Will there be a pre-fire from the castle? Absolutely not. And P4 gets himself an absolute freebie. 50 seconds left to go, and that is an age for Outsiders to hold on in a 4v3 against this Wolves side.
Really patient flank watch there as we got towards that last 60. Arguably, Rask moving a little bit too soon here has cost him his life. But in this 4 versus 3, Wolves once again have that numbers advantage going into the closing 30 seconds. They find Always. Now, they won't be able to get him back up as they're far too exposed through that soft wall. And now Bibu blowing out. Oh, that's a bit unfortunate. That's not going to be able to blow it out from that angle. Going to have to hammer it out instead. Expose himself ever so slightly. Sees the man down. But once again, Wolves have marched through in the last 30 seconds from 2 or 3 angles and slaughtered Outsiders where they stand.
I am not surprised by how good Wolves are and how clinical they're being here, but I am surprised that Outsiders getting beat this badly. I'll be honest. I really expected a little bit more coming in here, and the reason that I say that is the current scoreboard. I know we've gone into a timeout, but I've got the scoreboard in front of me. We're talking 3 kills to Rask, 1 for Dan, 2 for Milon, which was in the first round, 1 for Always, 1 for Pasha. So across the entire team, they've got 8 kills so far inside of 4 rounds. And that's out of a potential 20.
And 20 have obviously gone to Wolves. They've killed them every single round here, like almost double. 2 for the price of 1, quite literally in terms of the exchange between the two sides. But for me, I want to come back to the sort of thing I was mentioning earlier around Wolves and how the early round's going. They're very good at forcing members of Outsiders back towards the site. And it looks at about the 45-second mark. Okay, Outsiders have got good positions on site. They've got utility supporting them. And you think, okay, maybe at least a couple of rounds here they can hold on. But no, Wolves have just steamrolled them when it came to the execute every single time. Because you don't have one player dropping over here, pushing in, dying, then 2 seconds later someone comes in through printer window, they dive to an angle they weren't aware of, then someone's trying to push in through admin. No, they're doing it all at the same time, and that is what's really impressive. The teamwork and the synergy behind them is getting the results they're looking for.
Heading into round number 5 then, on the back of the tactical timeout. We'll see whether that can have any positive impact for Outsiders here, or whether Wolves will continue to steamroll them as it has been so far. We're going to be going back to staff and open area again. It's a rinse repeat of what we saw last time around. For me, I think Outsiders, they've played it with 4 on site and Rask in the basement both times they've attempted this. It hasn't really worked out for them. They've given up the top floor very, very quickly. It's not to say that that's where all the pressure has come from. It hasn't necessarily always been a hatch drop. It hasn't necessarily, been those vertical angles that have been causing the danger, but they've just been giving up too much map control. 90% of the map was in the control of Wolves for about half of the round last time out, and it's just too much. So for me, Outsiders, however you do it, whether it's a roam on the top floor, whether it's archives, tell us, you just gotta hold on to more this time.
This is the thing, they keep on trying, because once again they've got Dan and the Azami playing inside of stock. You've got one side inside of Janitor in Pasha, but you just know inside 30 seconds or so, Wolves are going to force those players out. It's what they've been so good at doing. And just to touch on Outsiders for a second, obviously this is the coming together of 2 rosters, the original Outsiders plus the old Team Empire. Now, the guys that finished second at SI, you've got Dan, you've got Always coming in, and potentially, who knows, maybe more to follow in future as well. One thing I did say when I was talking about these predictions the other day in terms of how they're going to finish this stage, they might need a few games. I know they've had a few weeks to work together. You're going to have to give this roster a bit of time to gel in officials, for example, to get more scrims in, to really warm into the season. I wasn't expecting them to, come out and beat Wolves today, but I was expecting a stronger performance overall. But I just remember me saying that and thinking, okay, give maybe 3 games, then we can start to assess exactly where they're at. It's a good opener this time, though. Tim has said Wolves will be inside in 30 seconds. They were, but it's a kill still going across to Outsiders first.
Yeah, definitely an improvement on the back of that tactical timeout, managing to get themselves the opening kill for the first time since round 1. So Outsiders need to show us that they've got that ability to build on this, that they can assert that pressure onto Wolves and, keep burning that clock, prevent them doing what they want to do. But as I commented earlier, don't forget that Wolves have just got that uncanny knack, that ability to single players out, to still find the advantage in this kind of situation. P4 with the castle barricade there, he's comfortable to march down Square Skylight stairs. He can start pushing towards archives and tell us if he should choose. But for the time being, he's just going to be holding himself around the top of blue stairs because they know that Rask is going to be down there.
Him and Mowgli are nightmares for this. They'll just crouch walk their way pretty much anywhere. They don't care if it's into territory that many would consider dangerous and really shouldn't be done. They'll go and do it. But once again, they're setting up for a similar push where you've got Bibu coming in from Bleepers, potentially 2 of them. You'll have one trying to come up on towards Square side as well, and they're trying to pinch on towards Rask here. They know Lucy where he is. There's 2 players, one more to his left here. You wouldn't have been able to see him, Tim, but he gets downed anyway. It's P4 taken out by Rask as the trade then comes through.
Rise does manage to get that trade essential, but Pasha straight. Honestly, I don't know why I still do it, and he does. Nade is going to be going up, finding its man. Once again, Bibu from underneath, and I commented on this, there's vertical nades on bank from basement upwards should not be found. There is very little opportunity for it. Bibu gets another, and we now find ourselves in a 1v1. It's Bibu. Can he make it 3 on the round? He knows exactly where his man is, but he misses shots, but then finds him. Always taken down, and Bibu still not letting a round slip away.
It's unreal. Outsiders again find the entry. They take Mowgli off the board. They get kills as drops come through the hatch. It's a massive improvement on previous. But just all, again, the small moments there being set up by Wolves, the multi-point push, the nades coming in from below, the pinch on towards Rask, everything just feels orchestrated. It doesn't feel like it's happening by chance. Everything is being planned, and it's all adapting based on what they find in the round. Again, incredible stuff by Wolves. They're up 5-0. Outsiders couldn't even buy a round right now.
They're going to try and see if they can find a bit of cash in the vault, Des, to buy one as they head down to basement. I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure that there's enough in all that gold bullion and all the cash that's knocking about in the bank to buy a round for them right now, because Wolves are just absolutely dominating this. We saw a similar setup last time around, so it's 3 Goyo canisters over by the plant spot, just trying to waste as much time as possible. But if you remember coming in, I think there's about 25 seconds, that wall gets open, 4 Goyo canisters make it. So there's about 25-30 seconds. We see the wall open, we see the time ticking away as the fire is still burning. They still had canisters there. They could burn out the rest of the round, but guess what? Wolves didn't care. They still went in, found the kills and won the round.
He's nicking your idea here with that C4. I've seen that on Tim
Love
Top
a pre-place there. Love a pre-place. He's been on Tim Top.
We'll see if it nets a kill, but this time rather than Black Eyes feeding the information, it is going to potentially be those Yokais. Now, I was looking at those 3 Goyo canisters that got set up inside the basement. They are in very close proximity. A well-placed nade could take out all 3 at the same time, and before you know it, you've lost that potential 1 minute 30 or so of burn time that you would have had. Instead, it's taken down to about 25 seconds or so before the attackers can then continue to operate. So, not too sure about that one down. We'll see what the impact of them turns out to be, but knowing Wolves, they'll have an answer.
Rask is just buzzing around on the Yokai drone at the minute. We quite often see them used in that way as a sort of essentially the defender equivalent of the attacker drones. It will get taken out by the looks of things though, so that's going to be at least one Yokai down. Does still have, as you say, 1 remaining. He's going to throw it out now, keep himself locked in the gold bars area. He's nice and safe there, and will be able to provide info to his team still. But once again, quick progress from Wolves here. They've got in a position to start thinking about hatchers. Dan's been forced back into sight. As you say, they can start on that utility burn. Mowgli's got a nade left here. Get that in the right place, and they're going to lose an awful lot.
I don't think you can see that one in the top left corner of the screen, Tim. I'm joking. I know you've shrunk your window.
Though.
Can you see the one on the top left?
Top left. Yes. No.
Look, all 4 of them are literally right together. Like, again, a well-placed nade will take out the vast majority of these. I'm convinced of it. But we'll see if Wolves can deal with that. Of course, they've got to get themselves control above. They've got to have Sophia potentially get up there. You've got to see nades come rifling on through. I don't think they quite get the exact angle just from the hatch in isolation, but this maybe is where Rooney also helps out in trying to get rid of that thrown utility. So actually here, maybe Outsiders have really, set the golden goose in front of Wolves and said, come get. They'll get rid of the one there at the very least. That'll burn away, and now there's still 3 more to go through.
If Shinka opens the long angle, which he has done now, they can just shoot them. They can go and just pop all 3 of them. I'd like to see that before they start. There's 2 more go. I think that was possibly a nade going in there. That's just going to take a couple of them out. It leaves now just 1. And to be honest, they can probably plant far enough away that it won't have an impact necessarily. We'll see as the round progresses. 35 seconds, Toxic Babe canisters going out. But Wolves, they've got their angles. They've got the opportunity. Mowgli's managed to get down the main stairs, but Pasha knows who's going to win this fight. It's got to be Pasha as he sees him move across. Nice headshot. 30 seconds left to go, and Wolves, they need to think about this diffuser.
They've not just got to think about that, also about what other backstabs they've got here. Plan 1 of Mowgli crouched down main stairs has failed. What else? It's a frog drop into sight, but always is there ready and waiting. As we still see those smokes coming through, it's sort of now or never, boys. You've got to make your move happen. Bibu's thinking about it, but Pasha's got the long angle. As soon as this drop comes through, he's going to be toast. He's getting ready. 3, 2, 1 potentially. No, he's going to sit there instead as the plant starts to come down, but has to come off the diffuser. Bibu a little bit late there on the drop, and finally, Outsiders get around.
Yeah, manages to find the 1 kill that he needed in that situation to get them over the line. And Outsiders, I think it's fair to say, will probably breathe a collective sigh of relief there. They were staring down the barrel not only of a 6-0, but a 7-0 realistically. That's how it looked like it might go. But the difficulty that they face now is that they're moving on to the side where Wolves... I know that attack on bank is not a bad side to be on. Let's, say that now. But Wolves, they're in a position of needing 2 rounds. They need to lock down 1 site there. So that's all it's going to take for them. If they can just lock down 1 site twice on the rotation, they've done it. They've got their 3 points. They've got stage 3 off to a winning start. I'll be honest, I think they're going to be able to get wins on more than just one site here. Wolves are setting themselves up as they wish. The way that particularly Mowgli's been playing and P4 have been playing, put them out on the roam, there could be some real trouble here.
Supported by Shinka on the Echo. I'm telling you, Tim, everyone has looked at what Deepek's been up to and thought, you know what? We'll have some of that action. We want to get ourselves out in the Yokais and feed some information to those roamers. Very classically for Rogue, what you'd see is one of the Yokais used on square stairs to give information over towards double doors, and that is when Spoit would strike from around Janitor Hallway. So we'll keep a close eye here and see exactly how these are used, whether or not they have mastered the craft in the same way Deepek might have. For now, at least for Shinka, it's a lot of information being fed through lobby to see if a push does come in on that side. A second one out towards square.
Going to be, as you said, waiting for the push to come in from outsiders, see where they try to get themselves established. We saw Wolves using lower square, particularly. P4 moving down there, getting themselves into archives. Tell us we saw Mowgli doing the same thing as well, so they're obviously trying to prevent that. Now, interestingly, we've got P4 on the Aruna. He's got himself hidden, but yes, outsiders are well aware of that position. He should not get away with his life here. If outsiders want a couple of better rounds, they need to be using this information well. They've spotted a couple of them up on the top floor. They know where the castle is. They know where the Aruna is. They need to be going in and getting kills now, and they can't take forever to do it.
The Reap's positioning himself here back in the corner again, so they maybe think he's left at this point. I imagine they'll have the sense if he's killed that drone behind the CEO desk, then maybe not. But instead, those castle barricades are, well, earning their investment worth here as well. Both windows covered off, and 2 or 3 players all swing onto Rask on the main stairs at the same time. It's Mowgli finding the kill, but top floor is still in the control of Wolves.
It is. Dan manages to pick up P4, so that at least levels things out. And Rise, he takes a ton of damage. He's not going to lose his life. Flips over to the Super Shorty to get himself out. A dodge, drops down the elevator and tries to get himself back to sight at this point, I would imagine. Just keep himself as a gun, firing in the right direction for Wolves, but he's not going to be able to take much of an engagement. He's going to have to hope that he just catches somebody on their blind side to get himself a free kill. Oh, he's gone all the way down, Des. He's going to be working his way back up basement stairs here, and that could be an area that outsiders take their eye off the ball. No, they've got it covered. They know he's coming. This is going to be an easy freebie for Dan if Rise continues forward.
And I think he knows about it as well, which is why he's backed his way downstairs once again. I mean, Rise is doing exactly what Ras did on the defensive rounds of this side for outsiders. So taking the inverse approach, you know, this is where you say to outsiders, okay, you're going to pinch this guy? Are you going to shut him down before he backstabs you? The answer so far is no. They're just trying to hit the site here and holding on to the angles instead. But here we go, always with a great swing, not even having to go for the head as Rise was only on about 3 HP.
The big question now is, can outsiders execute as well as Wolves did inside the final 15-20 seconds? Nade gets caught by a Wamai Magnet there. You could be forgiven for missing it. That was a quick one that we saw it.
Don't say that.
No, they can't be forgiven for missing the Magnet.
Yes.
The viewers can be forgiven for not seeing it get caught.
Very fair, Tim, very fair. I'm with you on that one.
Even with my dodgy vision, Des, you'll have to be quicker than that to get past me. Now then, Beaver who nearly catches the man on the rear side as he goes through into us. They're going to be pushing through here, but the kills come in once again. Final 10 seconds, defense, attack. It doesn't matter to Wolves, it's all the same. They close out the round, it's 6-1.
And I just love the orchestration of that defense once again, but this is where you see the difference, right? Think about when P4 marched into admin and picked up a 3K from that same spot that we just saw the player coming in from Archive, or from Tellers, sorry, died to. Yeah, in fact, no, it was Archives, the other way around. As they came pushing in through there, they were looking out towards Kansan's spot. No idea that there was still a player sat on the quad wall. I can't really think of a time back in the first half where Wolves were caught by someone that they didn't know was there getting a freebie. But it wasn't just that. It wasn't the fact that the player on the quad wall was undrone and they were completely unawares of his presence. That quad wall player was also covered on the double door by the player that was sat across in Kansan's spot, or at least near to it. So the coverage of these players against each other, the angles they had held down, and the lack of information from outsiders there has really stung them. They're down 6-1. Do I think there's any chance they win 5 rounds in a row? No.
I'd agree with you, Des. At this point, I think they are really going to be struggling, especially now Wolves know they've got that safety net. They've got that security blanket. They're guaranteed overtime. They're guaranteed some points. They're going to be happy with some points. They won't all 3, don't get me wrong. But yeah, I think, if anything, we're going to see Wolves probably knock it up a gear now. This is one of those where I just wouldn't be surprised to see this be a flawless round or something where Wolves just come in and like just decimate them on the defence and close things out. Outsiders have just been well off the pace so far. Wolves have been way ahead of it, and it really really has just been one of those days, unfortunately. But I mean, broadcast-wise, Des, at least it's caught us up a little bit. We had a little bit of a delay at the beginning of the first game, and we bang back on schedule if this one continues.
It's a big shout out to Wolves for that one. Well done, boys. Well done. Respecting
Thanks for catching us up.
the need of the broadcast. But I think really overall for me, looking at how the game has gone, it feels like Outsiders have just been outclassed in every area. The drone work coming through, the team play, the coverage of angles for one another, the aggressiveness on the roam, everything has been massively in the favour of Wolves. In that last round, they were out on the roam for about 90 seconds, whereas on their attacking sides, 60 seconds in, they had full control of the top floor. So you're seeing the difference in class here, not just in necessarily how they're playing today, but I'd go as far as saying the difference in class between these two teams right now.
P4 just trying for the nitro there. I think he maybe had a little bit of info, just suggesting somebody had got themselves in through those windows. He's not going to find his man, though, not going to be successful. You heard me comment a couple of times on the lack of vertical play between basement and ground floor here on Bank. It's quite the opposite between ground floor and first floor. There's plenty of opportunities, particularly on that north side of the map, to be finding a little bit of vertical action. So, Bibu, he's going to be getting the Yokai drones around this time, just trying to find that information. It was Shinka previously, but they've switched over. Shinka's going to be on the mute this time, and we've got Mowgli just hovering around that hatch rise once again, taking a lot of damage, but I don't know how many lives he's got today, but it's certainly a few. Dan, however, finding a nice kill onto P4, using the yellow ping information to find the man led behind the counter.
It's a lot of control coming out of this Dakabi as well. Was circling around square for the longest time. Does he miss this? I don't think he even sees it. Now he finally does, and they get rid of the Yokai as well. I was going to say, if that one stayed alive, that would be absolutely criminal, given there have been drones rifling on through. They've had a player walk down near it as well, but thankfully they get away with it. Hacking these cams out, though, will feed a little bit of information over. Of course, now have visibility onto bulletproofs and towards those Yokais. Mowgli holding out towards ramp as well, just waiting for a potential drop to come through.
Recent change to Dokubi, I believe, as well. I could be. I think the way that it works is that hacking the cams will knock any dead defenders off them. If they're looking at them, they'll have to go back on. So a little bit of a disruption to them. Rask is going to find a nade onto Rise, and the diffuser's going down here, as they've managed to get themselves in. They're going to stick this. There's nothing going to prevent Always from seeing this through. I don't think Wolves are even aware that was going down. Shinka manages to get one, but Bibu is dropped by Milon at the same time. 4 versus 1 now. Shinka, he's got it all to do, and he's got about 30 seconds if he wants to be able to deactivate that diffuser. He's going to have no choice but to head upstairs, and he knows it. They've got the hatches covered. The Gemini comes in, distracts him enough for Milon to get himself a freebie.
And consumes a whole round as well. Had no ammo left to really go for the gunfight onto the man coming down main stairs. Better round for Outsiders. Maybe a slip up by Wolves there to not have anything to contest on towards the plant spot going down, but for Outsiders, they've stuck to their basics there. They've focused on the plant. They've got the necessary ground control they needed. Didn't go trying to fight Wolves absolutely everywhere around the map, and have got away with it there. Still 6-2, still 4 rounds on the bounce. They need to pull back here as we go up to the top floor.
All the way up to the top. It's going to be very similar to the hold that we saw from them for open area. They had 3 up on the top floor, tried to hold on to it for as long as possible. They won't have much of a presence this time, Wolves, around the rest of the map. I wouldn't expect. We'd usually see at least 3 or 4 defenders on the top floor for a CEO hold. It's not an easy site to hold on to. There's a couple of key spots. P4 is reinforcing one of them right now. That's the elevator spot. They will try to breach that possibly from the windows opposite, just to give a view, and that's why the mute jammer's going down there. Gives a view all the way down the corridor past the vending machine. Wonderful fly through, thank you, medics. And Mowgli is setting up the second important position. He's going to be reinforcing stock wall, going to try to hold on to that corridor. Potential. Sometimes you bring along a shield. They do have a shield in hand. I would expect we'll probably see Shinka go and put it in that position. It may be utilised elsewhere, maybe to keep hold of elevators, but they will try to keep hold of stock and janitor area, just to prevent, again, that pressure coming through from the top of Square Skyline.
Seeing that you've got the Ace and the Hibana on side here, imagine you'll have the Ace go up and try and challenge on towards those elevator walls. You'll have Always go out towards Square and look to get CEO opened up. So everyone's got their part to do in this round. But as you've already said, Tim, with that wall being jammed off, you'll normally have to get a nade in from ATMs to tuck down, which the defenders have then responded to by bringing along the 1-my. So there's a bit of back and forth between both sides here. Obviously, the big difficulty that I completely forgot about is, of course, those impact EMP grenades. Chuck them at the wall, disabled away, things are opened up, no bother. And because these holes are so low down, there's not really any chance that Wolves can contest this one back. They just have to deal with being shot at as they try and stand inside that hallway with no real ability to respond.
One thing that is worth pointing out when it comes to the Impact EMPs, they, as we can see, are very, very good at what they do. But you got to be very careful with your use of them. The pros won't have too much of a problem with this, but if you're using them in your ranked game at home, just think about the fact that it's quite a small circular area that they affect. So if you throw them at the middle of a wall, expecting to get bandit charges that are maybe on each corner, that ain't going to happen. You got to think about where you're throwing it. Usually you got to throw it down towards the bottom of the wall, unless you're against the Kaid electrical or maybe that could be higher up. You got to be careful about it because the impact area is quite small, but see the great use of them there just to deal with this elevator wall.
I mean,
and it's just a game of cat and mouse now, Des. It's back and forth.
Pasha's done. He's already gone through potentially. I don't know why he threw so many down in that last burst, but Mowgli can get another one down onto here. He then goes through his last two potential X-Kairos, and then another one can come out from Mowgli. So I don't think Mowgli knows that or isn't expecting it, and he goes down to a nade. So they're not going to be able to pull that play off. But for a brief second, it did actually look like Wolves might be able to reclose that up.
That's unfortunate for Wolves, but a great nade nonetheless from Outsiders, managing to get themselves what could be the advantage that they need. They're going to hold down a lot of that corridor past Vending Machine now. It's going to make it very, very difficult for P4 to play into that area, so much so that he's had to rotate underneath, take a challenge onto Dan. And it's a difficult one as he flips himself 90 degrees and gets a second onto Rise as well. 5v2 now for Outsiders as they not only lock out the basement in the last round, it's looking like they might lock out the top floor here. 30 seconds left to go. It's all up to Shinka and Bibu.
They've got to know about these challenges coming in as well. Will he see the one man as he steps across? Oh, he sees the head but doesn't shoot. They're working their way in through Janitor. Turns around and finds one. But can he get the turn and burn on towards Janitor as well? No, he can't. 2 or 3 angles being shot at by the same time. And Bibu, all that stands between Outsiders and their third round, finds one man, but has got to keep himself so carefully tucked in here. Milon's in. Plant going down behind CEO desk. And at this point, Bibu is nowhere near getting this one denied.
There's just absolutely nothing that he can do. He's got UMP in hand, which is not the best gun at any range, let alone long range. He's going to get flashed out now. Does he find his man? He is going to do damage to Pasha, but not find the kill. They know exactly where he is. Diffuser's planted. Well played from Outsiders as they close it down, and that is going to be 3-6. Could they be on the trail?
Yeah, Madge, I did say you can't do 5 rounds in a row, but there's always a world. And I'll give it to Outsiders. Diligent on the drones as well. Again, very fortunate, I think, in terms of timing, because P4, if he got that crouch up on towards square and got rid of Dan, a lot of their backside control would have gone. And Wolves made the right call. P4 coming in from below, one man pushing out from towards Janitor. For Dan to get both of those two by himself in isolation there was really impressive. And that's what kept that round going for the side of Outsiders.
We're going to head then, Des, into round number 10, 6-3, and this one's already gone a little bit further than I expected that it might, if I'm honest. And we're going to see open area once again. It's a site that they won back in round 7. Wolves, as I said, only needed to find one site that they could lock down. Always risky to put all your eggs in one basket, of course, but Wolves are surely going to be confident that they can close this one out. It was pretty comprehensive last time around. Bibu just mopping things up at the end. It was a good, strong finish from Wolves. I want to see that top floor hold again. It was fantastic. Outsiders burnt so much time up there. It was difficult for them to clear the 3 men of Wolves out from above. I'm not sure that they'll take the risk because, again, if they know your spots, if P4's in a similar position, for example, maybe a nade just sails in and deals with him. But right now, the castle barricades are going in. They might just go for this again.
If they can. I don't know. I liked the setup the Wolves had with this before in terms of both of those double windows being reinforced off or barricaded off by those castle barricades, because you saw the freedom that offered towards P4 being able to dart back and forth throughout that top floor. It does mean that out on the roam, they should be able to waste quite a bit of time, as they've already done previously. So for Outsiders, it's how can they speed things up compared to before? How can they keep themselves moving on? I don't know if they saw those yokais for a second as well. There is one inside of the lobby. I think that drone just missed it.
Shinka's going to be watching over lobby at the minute. There's one just going to push in from ATMs. Raski's taking... Ooh, there we go. They know they can take the yokai out. So if he wasn't on the drone at that point, which it doesn't look like he was relocating, Shinka will not know that they are pushing imminently into Square Skylight. This should be a kill all day long. These are the ones that Outsiders need to be finding. They've got the perfect information. They know exactly where Mowgli is stood on the Wamai. They need to be finding this kill. They are going to take chip damage away from him, but always he's getting risky here. They might need that hard breach later on in the round.
They had that drone on him as well, but didn't really have any You know, now it's about them to really go aggressively for that push, and sure enough, Mowgli finds a kill and gets away. That's kind of unforgivable for outsiders. You had the information, you knew that you couldn't be challenged, but you let the man sit for too long, and he's taken down one of yours and got away.
It just paints a different picture for the Hibana as well, who now has 12 pellets left, and they need to make use of it. If they want to open the triple wall, for example, they need to be making sure that that is where the utility is deployed, but also making sure that Pasha gets into a position to be able to do that. We're going to have fuse charges raining into sight at the minute and finding a kill. Now, that is unusual. Dan picking up Mowgli.
Even Shinka's forced away as well from Kansan's spot, just too fearful of those charges finding any more. Can keep on dropping those down tactfully as and when they want to. Still 2 more in back pocket. And it will keep players out of the main room as well. It will keep them out of open area. You can force them away making use of that. But this is where outsiders have got to show the teamwork and pushing this one together.
Another fuse charge going in from the quad wall this time. Just looking again to force defenders out of position, but P4 finds Milon. And with 39 seconds left to go, that could be a critical time there. Going to shoot out the fuse charge as well that's placed on the castle barricade. So right now, Wolves are looking pretty good, Des. They've got themselves in sight. I believe P4 is all the way down in basement, and outsiders, they don't have time to start chasing anybody round who might or might not flank Rise. He is going to find himself down and out, but in a 3 versus 3, P4 could be in a critical position to end this round. 13 seconds left to go. Pasha takes the drop. Gonna try and get that diffuser down. Dan manages to find one B-boot onto Rask though. 2v2 now. 6 seconds left to go. The diffuser's gonna have to be stuck. Here comes P4 on that critical position. He doesn't get the man before the diffuser goes down, but with only 1 left, this is gonna be a difficult job for Dan.
Do they know they're going to get away with it as well? P4, do pros fake. He's sticking it the whole way through. Will Dan be there in time? He sprays through, but can't get away with it. Wolves get the defuse in what probably should have been an outsiders round, and they take the 3 points.
Fantastic play from P4 there. I picked him up in the basement and I knew that he was the one to watch. He was just going to come creeping back in to spoil the party. Had he moved a little bit quicker, Des, that round would have been over even sooner. He should have known that Pasha was getting the diffuser down there, but he just seemed a little bit concerned with everything else going on inside, which is fine. He doesn't want to throw his life away to Dan, but he gets the job done, and that is the game, and 3 points for Wolves.
I'm waiting for you to come back to me.
I'll be with you soon, don't worry. I'll be with you soon.
It's not the same. I like seeing their logo, but I like seeing your beautiful face more. There he is.
You see plenty of it now.
And the God voice is back again. Have you prepared for this, Tim? You've had 50 minutes.
I proclaim Wolves are the winners. There you go.
That was pretty damn well. Let's go to a break. When we come back, Desk will break it down.